Hey guys, welcome to Dominate Fishing. I'm Dan Meyer, and in today's video we're going to talk about 3 tips to help you catch more crappies late fall. Now, as you can see behind me, the lake here is freezing up, but there's still some great opportunities to open water fish for crappies. If you're far north, the big lakes are still open, and the further south you go, pretty much all the lakes are open. And a lot of guys stop crappie fishing now, but right before that freeze up is a great time to catch crappies because they're really schooled up and they really bite. But there's a few things you need to know to get them. So I'm going to give you 3 tips here to help you catch those fish. Now the first thing is when the water starts getting real cold, like it does late fall right before the freeze up, the fish they're not nearly as aggressive as they were when that water was a little warmer. So when the water was 50 degrees, upper 40s, and in the 50s, those crappies were pretty aggressive. They'd move a decent distance and come up and slam your bait. You could use bigger baits. But as the fall goes on, that water gets colder, fish are cold-blooded, it really slows them down. So you need to slow down your presentation. So now tip number 2, it kind of goes along with that water being so cold. You also need to start using smaller baits. Let me give you an example. I was fishing earlier this fall in a spot where we just killed the crappies on fathead minnows. We went there, actually went there last week. The water was still open, but the water had dropped into the mid-30s. We couldn't get a fish on minnows, but they were hitting on little VMC nymphs and those little paddle tails, they're mighty mites or mini mites, whatever they are, 32nd ounce jig. So they were hitting these real small plastics, but it was real hard to get them on minnows. We only got like 6 on minnows, but we got a bunch on these little plastics. So when that water gets real cold, you got to use smaller baits. Now you're still going to get them on minnows. That just depends on the day. But use a lot smaller baits for crappies when that water starts to get real cold. Then the third tip is you use your electronics. Most of the fall, one of the ways I mostly fish and I tell people to fish is to wind drift. But when you get to real late fall, you might move too fast when you're wind drifting because you got to fish them real slow. So in that case, using a fish finder to locate these schools of crappies can really be of benefit, because if you don't have electronics and you're just wind drifting, that works most of the fall. But real late fall, if you don't have electronics and you're just wind drifting, you could be drifting over the schools of fish and not even know they're there. So if you can mark them on your locator, you see they're there, then you can either drop an anchor or use a trolling motor to just fish right over the top of them, fish them real slow, and that's how you're going to get your bites. So I hope these tips help you. I hope you still can get out there and catch some late fall crappies before the lakes freeze up. If you're real far south, well, then you don't have to worry about the lakes freezing up, but when you get into that winter pattern, it's going to be a little different. So I hope you can get out there, catch a few fish before we get here to winter. Hope this video helped you. If it did, hit the thumbs up or the like button. Also, if this is your first time here, I'd love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do videos just like this to help you catch more and bigger fish. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.